David, that people were having troubles in this market when they say that? When you're having those conversations, like what kind of troubles are they having?
Well, it's just about like properties either sitting or sort of like it being like people being priced out of the market, like buyers and sellers and buyers.
Yeah.
Sellers not getting the prices that they want. So just like hearing that a lot and often in conversation. So it's
Hmm.
gonna be something cool to like talk about,
Yeah.
if we get to it.
You know what I've been doing? Because I've now had two sellers who like are like, well, I want this price. And it's just like yesterday I went on an appointment and the seller was cutting sales out of the newspaper and like in her neighborhood and then putting them in a little sleeve on her fridge. And so she saw what like there was one from the year prior that was like $400,000 in her neighborhood. And she was like, I won't sell it for less than 400. And like when I went through her house, I was like, this isn't a $400,000 situation. So I was like,
Yeah.
hey, like, um, can I break out my computer and like, can we go on the MLS and let's like dig into the market? And so for 45 minutes,
Ooh.
I educated her on the market. And by the end of it, she was like, yeah, my house isn't a $400,000 house, is it? I was like, no, like based on what you see, what kind of price do you think that we should get? We should start at because I was showing her, I showed her, we went deep. Like I was like showing her, like, look at this one. It started at 390 and then it didn't sell for 45 days and it sold for 365. But look at this one. It was listed for 350 and it sold in 3 days for 375. Like we went deep. And then by the end, she was like, I think probably would need to list it at 375. But like she came to that through the education. But I wasn't gonna go in there and be like, no, it had to be this price. It was
Hmm.
just like I was just gonna commit to educating her on the market because then she could then come up with the price that she knew based on what her actual reality was versus the little cutout she had on the fridge.
To cut out her comps or her version of comps.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I was like, do you even know what that house looks like? Like, what's going
Give
on?
details. Give me
I
some
know. It was
detail.
like cute. I was like, oh, we're cutting out the sales and putting them like just like one little line. So and so sold their house for 400.
I love that. I
Uh,
love the fact that you said the word education. And it's like that's like really a big part of our role. It's like educating folks on like what to do and kind of what are best practices. So that's really awesome. How you like walked her through that.
yeah. Yep. And then the seller that I have, like, she chose the one that we're going to be listing in 2 weeks. Like, she knows her price is too high. Like I was like, look,
Oh,
like
she does.
history of multifamilies in Concord, nothing has sold over 640 and you want 700. I was like, I showed her the whole gamut and she's like, oh, I still want to list it at 650. And I said, okay. And yet in 15 days after it's listed or 2 months after it's listed and we're at 650 and nothing's happening, what are you going to do? And she's like, well, I might have to consider a price adjustment. I was like, I need you to say that because 3 months from now, if it's not selling, you're not going to get mad at me because I
Ooh.
I showed you the market.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's
You're going
nice.
to get this price, not me.
Uh, oh my gosh. That reminds me of a really cool thing I heard, like a 10, 10, and 10. Like it's like something that's like if we can't, this house doesn't sell in 10 days or something, it's like a step
Yeah,
down type of thing.
yeah.
I have to remember it,
If
but
you've had 10 days, if it's on the 10 days on the market and you haven't any showings or offers, then you're overpriced. If 10 days on the market and you have showings but no offers, you're overpriced.
yes,
So
yeah.
maybe I don't know what the other 10 is, but it's probably like a 10% price drop would then yield. Like usually when you go in with a seller with a price adjustment, you want to kind of suggest 10%, and that's going to feel like a big number. And they'll like you can get them maybe to like 5%. But you start at 10%. Like you start throwing that 10% out so they get used to it. So then
Mhm.
when they choose maybe a 5% price reduction, it doesn't feel as heavy. But I think in the front end at the consult, if you're really educating them about the market and they're choosing the price, not you, when it's time for the price adjustment, they're not mad at you because you educated them. They chose that price, not you.
Oh, okay, okay. And that's kind of like that's why we had that approach of like just doing a day one, educating them right up front.
Yeah, because if you're the one that chose the price, then they can get mad at you. But when you educate them and they see the comparables, they know what's going on, they see their neighbor's house list and sell before theirs, then it's not your problem. It's the market. The market is doing this, not the agent.
I love that. That's awesome. Man, it's like,
But that being said, the ChatGPT is like a mean friend because the ChatGPT told this one seller that she could list it for 700K. And I was like, well,
she used that? No way.
yeah, I was like,
Oh,
chat's lying to you because like let's look at the history of multifamilies. Like nobody has sold a multifamily over 700K, and that doesn't even like that cap rate doesn't like no investors buying that, and like no first time buyer owner occupied is buying that because look at the mortgage.
well, how many units? Three? Is it
Two.
just two? Oh, two. No way. Oh, it's like, okay, three. I mean, I could see, probably pushing it if it's like
Yeah, three would be a different
maybe
story, but it was just two. And she's like,
just
well,
two.
you capital building out the window. And I was like,
Yeah,
well, yes, the location, I think we can get a little bit more of a premium because of the location. I don't think you're going to get a 50K more premium because of
yeah,
the, yeah.
yeah. That's no, that's pushing it. No, that's
I mean, it would be
oh,
60K more than the highest price two family ever to sell in Concord is what she wanted to price at. And I was just like, that also, that one that sold for 640 had a 10-car parking lot next to it.
okay. See,
Like,
there's a give and take. You need something to
yeah, like I know it
boost
was
it.
not,
Yeah,
it was in not it was in not the same level of neighborhood, but there's like an income opportunity and a space opportunity with 10 parking spaces.
right, right, right. I was thinking
I
like
could
there's some.
probably generate some income off of those extra spaces.
Mhm. Like no convenience store, no extra business attached to it, or just a
Yeah.
two units. Wow.
Hmm.
That's so interesting. I feel like we already started. I'm waiting for folks to trickle in. People are texting me and stuff. And I mean Ryan, it's on you because hey Fresna, what's up? Welcome to the call. I'm texting people. No, that's so good. Like I love that I feel like in any space like with buyers and sellers, just like even the like calls like this, just like getting that education, just like can amplify our business like so much more than it is. I was just talking to someone too about like really, really like this. A lot of people like to compare, themselves, but like I always focus on like just being like being 1% better than I was yesterday. Like the book Atomic Habits by Darren Hardy, by James Clear, or The Compound Effect, by Darren Hardy. Just like that, the same principle, just like give focus on being better every day, and it's like that you can kind of easily knowledge transfer to like clients. So has that
Yeah.
been? What do you think, Ryan?
I think I agree with that. And I think that also reminds me of like this thing around goal setting. Like when you're setting a goal, if you're envisioning yourself at the end of that goal with other people complimenting you, you're setting a goal based off of external validation versus something that's internally going to drive you. So then you're going to almost like self-sabotage yourself on the way because it's actually not an intrinsically motivated thing because you set that goal for how people are going to see you. But if you can set a goal for yourself that it doesn't matter if anybody knows you achieved it, but it's just for you, then you know you're close to that authentic goal setting. And I feel like that's the same thing with like getting better in business or anything you do. Like if it's for you, then you're going to be more motivated to do it. But if it's for how other people are going to perceive you, which I think is like being competitive with others, then you're always going to get this sense of like burnout because your worth is reliant on how other people perceive you.
Yeah, wow, that's so powerful. I love that. Um, and I feel like I mean, Ryan, if you're ready, I mean, I feel like that's why I love our conversation. Just like love working with you because there's always so much value, just in every time we speak. And I'd love to start if you want to. You good to
Sure,
go?
sure, yeah, go for
Oh,
it.
awesome, awesome. Hey guys, so again, welcome to Agent Wealth Builder. This is a mastermind for folks. I know that one of you is new to the call, but just like a community where we come together and just share insights on just wealth building across the board. So not just financial, but like, spiritual, social, mental wealth, physical wealth. So feedback on that. So really love these calls, and the folks that we have on these calls are just like incredible people. Last week we had Dan Childs, who runs EXP Manchester. They have their building there down there in Manchester. And today we have the one and only RYAN HZIVDA. She's the owner of HZIVDA Realty Group, and she's an incredible just human being, and just has done tons in sales volume. How many hundreds of millions in sales volume of the years? I don't know. I don't
Well,
know.
our team in the last 5 years has done over 200 million.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I think, yeah, we
No.
do roughly like we've been doing like 50, 55 a year. And
Wow.
then personally, my best year I did 50 transactions in 1 year, and that
50?
was clean with no admin help. Like it was wild.
That's
Yeah.
insane. And you guys heard that. Like this is the caliber of folks that I just like. I'm so glad that Ryan, you had time to just join our call and just share, kind of whatever you like, your story, any tips, any advice for those on the call. I know the people that I talk to, probably talk to over 100 or so people every week, who are interested in this. And it's like folks who are just new, who are either new agents or thinking
Mhm.
about real estate or in real estate school or kind of like just trying to figure out their wealth building journey. So it is again, this conversation is really awesome. I will say too, you guys can feel free to, of course, like yeah, microphone's muted. If you guys have questions, feel free to either like you can either speak them or type them in the chat, and we can make sure that we can answer them. Also, if you love what you heard here and you want to just hop on a separate one-on-one call, I'd love to. Just feel free to do that by just typing the word growth in the chat as well too, and we can kind of talk some more. But yeah, just want to introduce Ryan, and just Ryan, you can go ahead and feel free to share your story, whatever you like to kind of
Yeah,
like start
sure.
with.
Well, I got dragged into real estate, honestly. I wasn't somebody that was like self-motivated to be in real estate. I was a super idealistic, financially illiterate person. When I say illiterate, like I had this, I don't know if anybody's read the book Psychology of Money, but it's a really great book to kind of understand that we have this like programmed social conditioning around how we think about money based on how basically our parents treated money. So I came into my adolescence, like 20 something plus, like very anti money based how my family unit structured around money. So I like no education, just like thought it was money was like evil or something. So I was super idealistic. I wanted to save the world. And originally that was through being an art teacher. I was art teacher for 5 years. And then I thought I was going to save the world. And I saved the world. I say, like, I just wanted to make impact, I think, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Um, through farming. So then we had a farm up in Boscawen, New Hampshire, through permaculture and like community building. And but the thing is that there was no financial literacy through any of these decisions that we made. And we were in a pretty dismal place. I ended up getting Lyme disease when we were farming, and we made a really poor purchase for our first home. It was a 1760s, 3,000 square foot home up on a hill in Boscawen. And we bought it with a 203K loan when we bought it in 2010, I think it was. And when we didn't get an inspection because we thought that we wouldn't get the loan, like we were so uneducated in this purchase. And we moved into this house, and the day we turned on the water to run to like use the kitchen sink, water just streamed across the floor. And this was like an old house, older than America, 1760s. It was when it started to be built. You can just imagine how old that is. So anyway, that began our like 5 year first journey into home ownership while also like running a farm and like doing all this. And they always say if you want to make a small fortune in farming, you have to start with a large fortune. So while like we were financially making a lot of poor decisions, I also got super sick with Lyme disease and like was rendered kind of like useless. And so we had to kind of shut the farm down. And in this process, my husband and I, we actually met in our early 20s driving ice cream trucks. We were both ice cream truck drivers. It's a very entrepreneurial venture. And he went on to like take over the ice cream truck office. And so that was a full-time commission job, 6 months a year. And so we both were very aware of like being entrepreneurs, like the farming was entrepreneurial venture as well. And so our friend that we made through the ice cream truck business that was our boss at one point. Well, he wasn't, we were independent contractors, but he ran the office. Mike took over it from him, but Justin got into real estate. and he was watching what we were all doing. He's like, I think you guys need to get into real estate. And Mike was like, this is probably a better, like, I'm getting tired of working 6 months and then not working 6 months. Like, and there's a cap to how much you can really earn in running ice cream trucks. So Mike was like, yeah, maybe I should get into real estate. So he got in first. And I just remember being like this idealistic farmer person, like him trying to figure out how to put a listing in the MLS or like set up showings. And I'm like, I'm never going to do that. I'm never going to learn those contracts. Like, anyway, so then Mike came home from this class and we were going downhill pretty quickly with just everything. Me being super sick, I was like, I lost my speech. My hands were like, I wasn't able to really use my hands because they were covered in this crazy rash, and my memory was really, it was bad. I was just like lethargic. And I remember there was like a pile of bills stacking up, and we had to take a loan out from his mom to like just get by. And he just came home from this class, and he's like, Ryan, they said if I do these 5 jobs, lead generate, lead follow up, negotiate, go on appointments, and practice scripts and role play, we'll be able to pull ourselves out of this. And I was like, was humbled because I had no other choice because I couldn't do anything else. And he's like, "Can you just help me?" And I was like, "Okay, okay, yeah. I don't have a choice. I can't do the farm anymore because physically I can't." And so, Mike just started hammering expires, and this was a different market. It was right after the Great Recession, so like, if you can imagine, the average sales price in New Hampshire was $225,000.
Wow.
Um, we would sign listing agreements for a year because the days on market was like 150, 155 days. Like, it was just totally different market. And so there were thousands of expireds. So the expireds are just people that listed and then their listing got expired because there was no buyer. So Mike started just cold calling, and he was calling like 300 contacts a day. And so that's how we just were by fire got into real estate, and I was helping on the back end, which I am not an admin back end person. So it was like by just like, that was by default. So then I ended up going to real estate class, and I learned the definition of real estate because I was still like anti real estate because I was equating it to like sleazy sales. I think that's just also just like some programming from my dad. And so I learned the definition of real estate, which was land and improvements. And something clicked in my brain that it was the whole built environment. And I have a background in permaculture, which is like a ecological design process of like how can we live in this world where we co-create with nature versus like impart you know our concrete jungle infrastructure in on nature. And so then I realized, like, holy cow, the built environment, that's everything. That's how it impacts how everybody lives is real estate. And so that was just like the little thread that started to weave this vision of like real estate can actually be the platform for impact, because and there's actually a really great way to like earn money, because money actually is what builds the environment. It's just the energy transfer, and like real estate can be that vehicle. And then that's when I was like game on and became kind of an addict of like, how can I learn this, build something from this, and help others. And so I got into real estate through the back end of helping Mike, but then I was like, where can we help people? And so the first place was as farmers. We were in this cohort of beginning farmers, and we saw a bunch of people making like, they didn't have the resources of a community of providers for how to access farmland. So we were like, and this was like a community kind of like thing that we came up with because our other farmer friends, one was working for NOFA, and then we were just in this, we realized like all these like young people want to be farmers, but there's no like education of like how you access a farm. So we started this thing called the land access and transfer um, info session. And so we did 17 of them over a period of like 4 or 5 years across the whole state, where we brought together all the people that you would need to um know in order to like make an informed decision and purchase on buying land or buying a farm. And what we didn't realize, like I thought, oh, we're going to meet the people seeking. because we were doing this work, we became like the thought leaders in farming for this period of time. And we ended up getting these incredible listings because people were like, oh, I don't want to just sell my farm. I want to transfer stewardship. So we were then getting great, we were representing these amazing farm properties all over the state. And then I was like, oh my gosh, okay, so we have that kind of session. I also am really super passionate around how we live in our home stewardship. So like, can we do info sessions that are teaching people like how to make more sustainable decisions around their homes? So like I would bring panels together and have like the New Hampshire Saves person, the geothermal person, like insulation, like all the different things. And we did like a bunch of those. And so I was just like, how can I take my passions and put them into like build community and help people around the things I'm interested in? And then that was like, then I started to do first time home buyer seminars because I remember being a first time home buyer making a really poor purchase decision. I was like, what can we do to help people? So
Oh,
that was like, for me, was like, I was a teacher. So I was like, how can I teach? And so then as we started to like build the business, it was like, okay, now how can we help others do this through the team? And then that's been a whole other journey. But why I'm kind of like talking about that was because the way I personally was inspired to show up and build the business was around education and teaching people the things that I thought they needed to make informed decisions around the things I was passionate about. And so that was just a really the cool side effect was like this like influx of business that came from that and all the connections that I made through that. I'm getting a little derailed, maybe. I don't know. Maybe you want to.
well, I think it's awesome. I mean, I love the fact that
Okay.
so that's it's amazing. And it was that I heard multiple times you said the word help a few times and community and
Yeah.
education and like maybe for the folks on there, like what's important as far as like that and success and like real estate and just as a human being like that you can maybe speak on
Like in terms of
in terms of
helping people.
yeah, in
Well,
terms
I
of helping clients and like the kind of like the heart you have for that and kind of like how that works with business.
Yeah, I think the best salespeople are able to truly understand what somebody needs and then help them achieve that. And I think that a lot of times just comes through education because and in asking empowering questions to that person. Like I don't think that my goal isn't to sell a house, it's to make sure that like when some like I see each client as somebody that's like coming to me with a problem to solve, and then I'm going to help them solve that problem. And that problem is that transfer of real estate. And I say that because sometimes, like with first time home buyers, it's an exciting problem. It's actually a dream casting. They're like, I'm going to start my family, or, I feel like first time home buyers are coming from a place of hope and vision. Where with some of these farm properties, like they're coming from a place of like, generations of kind of just patching what they had, and then now they need this to retire, but they have no financials. They've been, you know some were making really great decisions, and then others, like if you plucked you out of this is just a big old mess. And so it's like, how do I help you get to the place that you need to be able to get to your next phase of life? And I think like people on our team, like Brenda, she does this with like the senior population. Like she's spending a year, 2 years coaching people around getting their estate plan, setting up whatever they need to set up to transfer this property they've been in for 20, 30 years to then move to a place where they can age in place. Like she's helping them solve that problem. And that can take years that she's dedicating her time to helping those sellers. But that's around her passion. She loves helping people make that type of move. Um,
Um,
so yeah, I don't know if I answered your question there, but
No, that's awesome. And as you're speaking, like a bunch of questions are coming up, and I have another one to ask. But I did want to mention too, like if anyone's on this call and has any specific questions you'd love Ryan to answer, feel free to just drop them in the chat as well, and we can make sure to kind of like keep an eye on it and ask. And what I wanted to ask is like just even from the back from the beginning, because I'm like, okay, you guys are farmers, like Lyme disease, and like Mike, I remember the Mike sharing the story about him being an ice cream truck driver. I didn't know that you guys are both doing that. Like, how does that? I guess my question is around transitions. Like, because like, some folks are like, okay, like, well, how do I transition into real estate or kind of transition into this like, okay, full time in doing it full time? Like, how are you able to speak to like, okay, how do you transition through that hard time and just navigating that?
Grit and 80 hours a week. Honestly, we had no money. When I look back at it, we were in $75,000 of credit card debt
Wow.
and then we had the loan. So it was like a negative 250 net worth. And we were paying thousands of dollars a month just on the credit card
Wait,
interest.
can you say that one more time? 75,000.
Thousand in credit card debt and then well, student loan debt and then the mortgage on that farmhouse. And it wasn't like we weren't buying it wasn't like we were just buying, it was just that we were farming. So we were just like spending all this money on, I was ordering 6 tons and I was the idealist. So I was ordering like 6 tons of a specially mixed, um, I think it was corn-free feed for my pigs. Like it was like those types of decisions. It wasn't like we were out, blowing through the money. And so then when we were just like buying stuff, we were like, oh, we're doing this for this business venture. Um, so yeah, we racked up all this debt. And then we were also, when we got into real estate, like we had one car and we had one laptop. We had like, Mike had like one nice outfit. Like I remember we had to get like a lint roller to like make the sweater look nice. And we just like got by. And then my friend, because I ended up getting licensed and we only had this one car. So my friend let me borrow her 1973 Mercedes that the only way to shut it off was to pop the hood and press the stop engine button. So I was like doing showings because it was like in the farm, doing these farm showings, and I was all over the state in this Mercedes that I would like get to the showing 10 minutes early so I could pop the hood and shut the car off.
Oh,
And
no way.
nobody would see me do that because I was just like, I didn't want them to see that. And then I just remember being at like a showing and one of the buyers being like, oh, I didn't realize these cars were like cool again. And I was like, oh, yeah, yeah. You just fake it till you make it. And so so it was like we were just hustling to get by. And then we had a really great mentor at the time who like had us write all our debts down on a spreadsheet, like what the interest rate, the amount, and you probably heard like the debt snowball. You kind of start with the smallest one first to because it feels good like when you can pay it down. But every 2 weeks we were just like, what can we contribute? What can we contribute? And so that also came at this like trading one type of debt for the other. So we traded the credit card debt for IRS debt. And it was actually 2017 when we actually got 100% all of this debt free. And then we started to like actively take, because then we were earning a pretty decent income. And then we were able to then start getting to a place where we were like, all right, now we have this extra income. Let's like start adding it to buying real estate. Because, and yeah, so we started to make better decisions. We sold the house um, in 2015 and we ended up living with a friend from high school, past client. For 8 months, we were home. We were like without a home because we were like, we were in this like kind of debt. And then we ended up buying a two family and we lived in that two family for 8 years and just kept buying I mean, we didn't buy a lot of real estate, but we bought enough to never have a housing cost for 8 years. Like
Oh,
it just,
what that's awesome. And like, so this stuff for folks to get a timeline. So you guys are like, okay, you said like it was 2017 when you started to kind of get financially kind of like in a better place. And then by selling the house, you mean like the little house on the prairie, like the 1760, how
yeah, the
like the
3,000.
old
We sold that in 2015 and we like had nowhere to go. Like we had this closing date and we had represented one of my favorite houses to date was a double envelope passive solar home that the sellers had harvested all the wood themselves and built this beautiful timber frame home
Wow.
in Pembroke, and it was a stunning home. It was like a living work of art because like in the kitchen was a piece of walnut on the island that the seller grew up with that walnut tree on his family
Oh, that's
property.
awesome.
And so like it was like every room was like it was art. It was like living art. And I had posted a picture of the sunroom and like the solar um this like solar collective. It was just the sunroom on Facebook, and an acquaintance. He was like an acquaintance from high school. Messaged me. He's like, "What is this place? Um, this is the picture that I draw in my journal of my dream home. I need to see this house."
Whoa, no way. Wow.
Okay, so we show him the house, and he's like, "I'm buying this house." And so the closing date of this house was like a week before our closing date of our house, and we still didn't have a place to live once we moved out of our house. And so we're sitting at the closing table, and the sellers were like, "So Ryan, you're selling your house, where are you moving?" And I made a joke. I was like, "Oh, well, Justin just bought that big house. Maybe we'll move in with him." Totally joking, like just because he was just on a whim buying this house. And so then 2 hours after the closing, he calls me. He's like, "Ryan, I just bought that house, but I'm not even going to move into it for like 2 years. You and Mike can totally rent from me." And we were like, "What?"
Oh, wow. Oh, that's awesome.
So we ended up renting. He ended up actually moving in, because that's a whole different story. But we
Mhm.
ended up getting to rent like a section of the house with like for 8 months. We ended up living there, and it was amazing because that house is just so special. Um, and then we went on a listing appointment. And I always, Gary Keller, we came from Keller Williams. Gary Keller's like a brilliant man. He always said, like, you should be buying two properties a year. And you, as an agent, you're always getting the best intel. Like, you should buy your own listings. And so we actually, pretty much everything we've bought has been through the listing consult process. So we went on this like two family consult and signed the listing paperwork. The seller needed like a month before he was ready to put it on the market. And about 2 weeks into that process, we're like, "Why aren't we buying that house?"
Oh, wow.
So we ended up buying that two family off market. And it was going to be like, "Oh, we'll live there for a couple years." And we ended up living there for 8 years. We ended up buying the house next door, renovating that, renting that out. We bought a condo, we bought another two family. So we then, from all the real estate investing, we were just not paying to live, which then gave us such a huge opportunity financially to like start to truly build wealth. And I had this driving thought of like, because you get into debt, and when you're in debt, every decision you're making with every dollar that comes in is paying for your past decisions. So it's
Oh,
like, I
wow. That's
want to
huge.
be in a place in my life where every dollar that I make is actually going towards my future self versus my past self. And so, I mean, 2017 was that year when we stepped into, now we're making money for our future selves versus our past selves.
Wow. I love that you're making money for your future self, like decisions for your future self as opposed to your
Yeah.
past
And
self.
I think our
Wow.
society like has created this external validation we were talking about in the beginning of the call of like, I'm buying something for how somebody perceives me, and then I'm going to do that at the sake of my future self for like this whatever's happening in this dopamine hit of now. And then it's like really takes a lot of for us, it took us getting into a dark place to like get out. Like, honestly, we I don't think we made those financial decisions for that external validation. We were making it for like, I guess maybe we were, because we wanted to like, I wanted to like save the world. So I guess that was like an external validation if we're really going to get real about it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then it became like actually zone zero, like there's this principle in permaculture that like you got to put your oxygen mask on first. So when you're designing a space, like you got to design for zone zero first. So like, how are you making decisions in that initial space that you're using so much that takes the least amount of resources but has the biggest impact for the way you're living your life? And then there's like the ecological component to that design. But that's really what it comes down when you're thinking about your financial health, is like, what are you doing to like, put a moat around zone zero, and then starting to expand out.
Oh, wow. And how does that look like? So many questions come up as I talk and hear you speak. It's like,
Yeah.
I think I was going to ask about the kind of zone zero question, but then I also wanted to, the question I wanted to ask this question based on conversations I have with like new agents all the time. It's like, okay, like year one. So it was a couple of years, right? Until is it 2017. But then what was the first year you started? Was it 2010 or was it 2011? Like a
So I think really Mike
timeline?
started part-time 2012. And so
Mhm.
he was still doing the ice cream truck and then doing real estate. And then I would say I got licensed in 2014. And it was like 12 through 13 was when my health started to like really decline. So yeah, where are you going with the question?
Oh,
I'm trying, yeah, I want to
mhm.
make sure to
Well,
derail
I
the
guess what I'm
timeline.
speaking to is like, okay, like navigating that, like, okay, going from part-time to full-time, and then, but then like navigating that first year of being full-time, like, are there any like specific tips that you give to folks listening about like, okay, like how do you really like lock in, or like what steps would you take specifically to help you lock in your first year, you know?
Well, I think, I mean, there's always a couple things that I'll advise new agents. Like, if you can get like 6 months of a buffer, because the, if you start in real estate and you expect that you're going to get paid for the hours you're putting in, like that is a mythical thing. And it's highly unlikely on day one of getting your license that you're going to find somebody that's like, I'm ready to transact. And then you're going to go under a contract and get paid in 45 days. Like that's just really hard. That it's an unrealistic expectation. So because the sales cycle is like it takes time to nurture someone, and then you're really not employed until you have a purchase and sales contract in place, and then you have this timeline to then when a sale happens, and that's really like the money flow. So you really have to start to not use your hour time towards thinking there's a dollar amount. You know what I mean? Like there's no, you're going to work a ton-ish in the beginning before you ever see a dollar. And you have to also divorce yourself from thinking that like you can't, the best agents are able to work for the person, not for the transaction, which can be
Oh,
incredibly hard to do in the beginning, because you might be like we were like very much needed the transaction to work out, but we both had like a pretty um high commitment to like we're working for the person, not for the dollar. And so you could just gotta walk away from, mean people, or just be able to advise somebody to get out of a deal if it's not for them. Um, I think the other thing is just you have to bet on yourself. You have to, there's gonna be a period of time, and I know many people that I talk to, there's just a period of time where you have to jump in, and you're gonna sink or swim, but you gotta jump in because it's not a job that you can do part-time if you want to make a career out of it, because I think it takes a lot of reps to get great at this. I remember I didn't feel confident until I did 50 transactions. Every single
really?
contract I wrote. Yeah, because every single people are peopling in this job.
Yeah.
Like people are make every once you start to really understand the whole thing, then you can start to see the potholes, or the sucker punch that's going to happen in the transaction. But like it takes reps, I think, to really start to be able to see 3, 4 steps ahead. And that's practice. That's why they call it a practice. Like nobody gets good at anything until they do a lot of reps. And so in the beginning, like your reps are like, how many conversations can you have with people about real estate? Because people need to trust you and like you to want to transact with you. And so when you first get in, like you got to talk to a lot of people. And I think that's another thing. People think real estate's just like, I'm going to go see a couple houses. But you need to get to the person, like you need to do a lot of reps to get to a person that's going to trust you to show them houses and then advise them on this giant decision that they're making.
Yeah, well, and I like that word you said, like reps, and like you weren't comfortable until after you made 50 transactions, which is insane.
Yeah, I
And
didn't need to
yeah,
like call the mentor or whatever, like be like, Mike, read my contract, or like I'm gonna talk to the person on the ALC or whatever, whoever was like my person, like I'll be like, hey, in this situation, would you advise doing this or this, Because it is a lot of strategy. And now when a new agent or anybody on the team comes to me, like I'm in this situation, I'll ask like sometimes 5 to 10 questions before I would ever give advice, because I
really,
want to know all the different ways to look at it before I give advice. Because there's so many, like, yeah, people are peopling, and you just you gotta, yeah, there's
yeah,
there's people there.
that's so critical. And I think that I really want to that kind of like touch that like reps point that you made is like, what are those actual numbers? Like, so like by reps, is it like a certain number of calls a day? You said a certain number of
Well,
conversations
yeah,
a
when
day?
we
Like
were
what
like
are
when
we?
we were like homeless there for that bit, no, I say homeless, like we were renting from Justin. We had a coach. That was one of the things we did very early on, is we invested in a coach.
Oh,
So I've been coached at a high level since like 2012, like 2013 probably, I think is when we got our first coach. But I remember we had we just sold the house. We had like a windfall of like the profit from that house, and then an epic month in real estate. So we were like zero debt in credit, and then we were now like the IRS. But um she was like, what, you need to do 30 contacts a day. And
30.
there needs to be a consequence at the end of the week if you didn't do that, or you're just not going to do it. And so at first she was like, maybe you have to donate $500 to, like, a cause you don't believe in. And we were like, man, that doesn't really motivate me. And she's like, all right, what would motivate you? And then she was like, what about if you had to send me a video of you burning $500? Like, we didn't have $500, you
Oh,
know?
yeah, yeah.
And so she's like, we were like, oh, no, we don't want to do that. She's like, all right, that's the consequence. If you don't make 30 contacts a day, 5 days a week, like, I want to see a video of you burning $500, because that's essentially what you're doing. Because, like, you need those reps of contacting people to actually get a transaction. So we were like, okay, all right. And that's what we committed to. And so we were
Really?
both, yeah, yeah, we did that. And I mean, it was intense, but I have notebooks of, just because at the time we didn't really have a CRM. It was all legal pads. Like, I
No,
have,
wow.
Alicia made me throw them all out, but I had probably like 100 of these, like a stack, when she came into my life in 2020. She was like, please, can we get rid of these?
You
But
just
like,
keep them
that's
for
how
the memories, like
I always have a notebook. I like am always writing everything
yeah,
down.
yeah,
She's like, can we get this in
remarkable.
a CRM? Yeah, can we get this? Like, what's going on here? Um, but yeah, so it was 30 contacts a day. And we did that. And it was just, that's what really propelled us to the next level of building something.
Wow. And if
Because I would say 20 contacts, the rule of thumb in real estate is 20 contacts a day.
Mhm.
When you start to get efficient, you're most likely going to set 2 appointments from that, probably convert one of those, and like there's a whole formula you can do, because it really is just a math formula at the end of the day, which
Okay.
I think also people have a hard time like wanting to believe, but it's just the formula. It's
And
just
what
math.
and what's that too? And like I guess my question is like for those who may not know, like what is a contact? What is it? Is it you calling people, or is it some people you actually talk like speak
Yeah,
to?
calling, back and forth conversation, a back and
Mhm.
forth. So whether that's text, on social media, going like early, I would go to the coffee shop, and sit in the coffee shop, and that's where I would do like the work I didn't get joy out of, which is like, CMAs. I would have to do like 4 CMAs. So I'd be like, I'm gonna go to the coffee shop, and then, because you're in the coffee shop, all of a sudden I mean, I go downtown and I'll see 5, 6 people. Like, 2 weeks ago, I was at the coffee. I was just sitting outside, and I saw a past client who then that night was like, hey, I want to sell my investment property. Do you think she would have called me if she didn't see me, that morning? I'm not sure, but like, I feel like you talk to people in person, on the phone, and however you want to do it. So if that's, calling your friends, there's all sorts of ways to make those contacts.
Wow,
There's
and I think I wanted to make sure I reminded folks like if you have any questions, like specific questions for Ryan, feel free to drop them in the chat. Also, if you're like if this interests you, like what we're talking about, feel free to just put the word growth in the chat as well. Love to have a one-on-one conversation with you about any one of these things that we kind of topics that we spoke about, whether it's like budgeting or sort of like planning or timelines. So I just wanted to put that out there.
And that was the other thing, speaking of budgeting, like, so I went from
Mhm.
somebody that was like, so like, didn't understand money, but then I was like, all right, money made me, being so kind of illiterate about it, got me into a place where then I was trapped. So like, then it was like like, that was it's still confusing. I still get on the call with the financial
Still,
advisor, still
wow.
talking about Roths and these things in my brain. It wasn't until I had a mindset coach that I would tell him like, "Oh, when this is happening, my brain feels fuzzy." And he's like, "Ryan, that's just confusion." And I was like, "Wait, what?" He's like, "You're just feeling confused, and that's what precedes understanding." And ever since then, I'm like, "Oh, that's what's happening. That's why I'm getting so frustrated, because I'm confused." But I just made it like this thing that was like super hard and uncomfortable, and I was like, I just want to be fluent in it. So I mean, that just started with with really getting serious about a purchase and not a purchase and sale, profit and loss, the P&L. Like, am I running my business like a real business? And who do I need in my world to help me with that? So I went through four bookkeepers until I got who we work with now. And same with financial advisors, same with accountants, like getting a team in place. And it took time, and it took being in a relationship with one and getting to a place and realize like you got me here, but you're not going to get me there. Like, and that it's been a journey. And now I feel like we have a pretty good team. But it took, that was just been something that I've just actually the white, and the blue are all the business books.
Really?
I educated myself. Like, I just started reading and reading about money, reading about business, and like, because I wasn't a business person, I was an art teacher, artist, surround like working with clay and teaching. I had no business skills. So I was just like, I have to teach myself. And there's this thing, earners are learners. And I was like, okay, I can learn. And so if there was a class or there was a book that was suggested about how to be a better business person, a better leader, better understanding of money, I was just like, somebody that was ahead of me suggested it, I would get it, and I would dig in.
Well, Ryan, that I just want to make sure, like I just pointed out, like that you just said that, and hopefully you guys heard that and heard what she's saying about just like having that word team. And I kind of wanted to ask you about that too as well. It's like, guys, like again, Ryan, like the team has done over $200 million in volume over the past couple years, and like even still to this day, Ryan, you're saying you still have keep people like a team around you of folks who have the answers you need. You're like, so like what that speaks to, guys, is like you don't have to have all the answers to be able to be successful in the business. Like Ryan, like is there anything that you could share like that speaks to like having the right team around you to kind of help you support or anything in that
Anything that
space?
I can say about that. One, I was just like, always, for me, I'm always looking to be in the room where I'm the least smart person. Like, that is just like something I crave as a human. As soon as I feel like I'm the expert, I'm like, I need to lift my lid. Like, I have to be somewhere where I have that feeling in my head of confusion, because then I know I'm growing. And then when it came to like building a real estate team, it was like, I want to build something where agents can actually thrive in those purposeful places. Like, so like I can build something where like Brenda can take Wednesdays off to be with her grandchild, and then can volunteer at the Good Life program around, she's so passionate about helping the senior community and all of that. Like, how do I help create a platform where she can, now she's like going to be the president, of that
Wow.
board. But like,
Yeah.
would she feel like she had the time and leverage to do that if she didn't have the ops team behind her with the admin part of the business? So like, how can I build something that actually propels and amplifies agents to be in their sweet spot, whatever their sweet spot is? Like for Chris, that's being a dad and playing soccer and like showing up to be in his with his family. Like,
Wow.
yeah, he sees
So
the
powerful.
value of, he doesn't have to deal with so much of the business busyness of the business, because he can go and do the Thursday morning kombucha, dad meetup every
Yeah,
Thursday.
I love
You
that.
know,
Yeah.
like there's like those are the things that like, how can we create something where people can plug in? I mean, it's not easy. None of us are saying this is not hard work. Like, it's still super hard work, but we've just like built something that allows you to be a little bit more in your sweet spot than I hated putting a listing on the MLS. Like, listing on
The
the
admin
MLS
work.
is like 3 hours of time, like to do it well. Like, our listings are represented well. Like, when you go to look at our listing, it's complete. Like, you have the
Yeah.
complete property disclosure. You have so much information that we give out. Because when I first got into real estate, the agents would not put anything online. Like, they would fill out the listing, but they wouldn't put any documents, because they thought it was a value to their seller to like make the agents call them to get the information, which actually I felt like was a barrier to actually helping an agent sell your property, because now you're
Right.
tied up for a day or two waiting for that agent to actually like scan everything in and put it on the MLS and
Yeah,
send it
that's
to you.
efficient.
I thought that was so dumb. And I was like, no, we're going to put everything out there, because we want buyers agents to like feel educated on this property so then they can say like, hey, this is a really great fit for you, versus like giving them a 3-day barrier before they even get that information was like, thank goodness that's changed. But that was like, that was the that was the real estate we came into. So I was always just like, no, we need to present this. So like we were, I don't even know if many agents are even doing this, but every one of our listings has a Matterport and a floor plan. Like we have video walkthroughs, we have staging consults, we have high quality photography, because we want buyers agents to be able to like, you're not only selling it to the buyer, you're selling it to the buyer's agent, who's then going to make sure that this is the right fit for their client. And the only way they're going to do that is through a really high quality product that you're putting out there. And that takes time and work and like hours of ops work. And so I was like, I don't want to do that. I remember when we first got into real estate, we were like staging and showing up before the photographer came, and like shoving stuff in ovens and like in the grill, and like, and then I was just like, we're never staging again. We're hiring stagers, like staging consults. And we got, that was just like a level of service that was like, we're providing this to our sellers. Like this is what we're gonna do. And like I think for the most part, our listings, I mean, they're always look really great because we invest that into the process. But like the agent doesn't have to do that. It's all being done because we just want to provide a really high quality service to them so they can serve their client.
That's incredible. And Ryan, what you said, like I can attest to it too, being part of like the team, like the process is just like so it's like so helpful to have. And you said the word ops, like what does that mean? Like ops, who sets all that stuff up? Like Ryan, are you able to you want to speak to that or as
Yeah,
well?
so I mean it started like we have Alicia, kind of, it's her circus. So she runs the ops team, but she's our director of operations, and she's created such an amazing culture with our ops team. But I realized I did admin hires wrong for a long time before I broke the team and rebuilt it. And doing it wrong is hiring one person and expecting them to work like you, like an agent. And like agents, I mean, we can work all the hours if we really want to. And then we can put that demand on our ops person that they have to work all the hours because I work all the hours. But here at the end of the day, we're working at commission and they're working on salary. They should not have to work all the hours, and they shouldn't be expected to do all the things. So originally, I remember one of our first admin people we hired, after 2 weeks, she's like, guys, I just feel like you had a baby and it's screaming and pooping in its diaper and you just handed it off. Like, and
Oh,
then that was like, that sat with me, and I was like, I don't want to be that person that's just like, here's a big pile of poop. So, and then I realized too, like a really high level like ops team is going to be like able to do a lot. And so like we have agent services like Adonis. He works nights and weekends. So he's always available, other than he doesn't work Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I think. He has those are his days off. But like we want to be able to, when an agent is like on the road or they're at dinner with their family and their buyer wants, listing information, and they can't just get it because maybe the listing agent didn't put it on the MLS, Dawn can go and hunt that down. Or, setting up showings. You have buyers that want to see 6 houses in a day and like geographically kind of all over the place. Like, I don't know, that is like a puzzle. And that takes a
a
lot of
puzzle.
time because
That's a good analogy.
not everybody has like this is all such menial stuff, but like it's so time consuming. Um, like somebody might have showing time set up, but the other person, you have to call the list agent and then get the list agent to agree, like, because the list agent might be doing assisted showing. So then you have to work around the list agent's schedule, or like whatever. Like it's not just like you can set this up and then you have the drive time and then you have like,
All these little,
there's
yeah.
all these crazy variables just to freaking show some houses. So like Dawn is like, that's what he does. Like, so Michelle last weekend was like, I have to show 10 houses in 3 days, and these are for 3 clients and these are all the things. So like sets it up. We have a whole system for that. And she can then just focus on, like, I mean, showing houses is a lot of work, but then we just took, probably like 3 hours off her plate, because that's like Dawn's really good at that. And then, the database is the data bank. Like we were talking about contacts and people. Um, I think we're all getting bombarded by like, what is it, like 5,400 bits of advertising a day, something
Oh,
crazy.
yeah, it's insane. Over
There's
5,000.
like
Yeah.
so much, and it's even getting worse and worse and worse. And so like everybody knows a real estate agent. And the thing is like you walk into Best Buy, the greeter is like, "Oh, can I help you here for anything today that's, can I get the person that you need to for the decision you want to make?" And you're like, "No, no, I'm all set." And you like walk down and you're like, "I want to buy a TV," but you didn't tell the person. You're not getting that person was ready to help you get what you wanted, but you just shut them down. And then all of a sudden you're looking at all the TVs, you got two that you want to go and there's no salespeople anywhere to help you with this decision. So now you're going through the store and
Thing.
you're in the cell phone thing, you're like, "Oh, can you come help me make this decision?" I feel like a lot of people have this with real estate where it's like a really important decision. And when they're ready to make it, a lot of times they just grab the closest person to them. But one of the ways to like actually build a business in this is like systematically reminding people that you're in real estate. Because if you don't, they're just going to walk into an open house and the random person, which is, this happens. People walk into open houses, they might know four or five realtors, but because they're like making the decision right that day, they're just going to use the open house agent, which is great because we host a ton of open houses and we do a lot of business because this happens. But our past clients are coming back to us because we are constantly staying in touch with them. So, like, our database person works, like, that's a big job to make sure that they say it's 56 times a year, but we're systematically hitting our database anywhere from 50 to 75 times a year
Yeah, it's huge.
because don't they're going to forget you. Like, I think there's this stat that when somebody buys a home, like 75% of the people say, "Yeah, I'd use my agent again." But then like 6, 7 years later, they don't because their agent never stayed in touch with them.
You're not
And
top
then
of mind. Yeah.
they went and they got the cell phone rep to help them,
Wow.
sell a house.
Oh
And
man.
because we like have a whole system with the database too, we will get we will get people that maybe we were the listing agent and they had a buyer's agent, but because we then are, staying in touch with people, like that person will come back to us to sell versus the buyer's agent that they use because we kept in touch.
And
So we have a database person
is
that
it
helps.
76, 70 points? Is it 76 touches at this point, the system?
Yeah, it's like it's a lot. Like, because yeah, like when we like the formulated ones, because we started building out the touch plan, like Alicia, helped with this, but like we started doing it in 2021 and like it just layers add to it each year.
Wow, and man, Ryan, yeah, and I just wanna say again, like I always enjoy talking to you because there's so much value in our conversations, and like I just wanted to, I had one last point to just kind of ask you, but I want to remind you guys, like again, like I will actually just reach out to each of you just to get your feedback. I'd love to have your feedback on your calls, what you enjoyed about it, any sort of like comments about it as well. I also want to share that we're also on Instagram and YouTube, so. This video will be on our YouTube page, Agent Wealth Builder. So just want to let you guys know that too, and appreciate your time. And Ryan, like, is there any piece of advice that you'd love to like leave the folks on this call with that you think will be a huge value? Anything at all that you like to share?
I think in this business, you have to be just comfortable being uncomfortable, like that
Ooh,
fuzzy feeling in your head, because you're going to get a lot of no's before you get a yes. And you have to, you really got to protect your mindset, and put yourself in places where you are like feeding into a mindset that's going to keep pushing you through the hard times. Because there's definitely, there's a lot of no's to get to the yeses.
wow, that's huge. Being comfortable being uncomfortable.
Hmm.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Thank you.
Huge piece of advice. Yes, again, Ryan Hvizda, the owner of Hvizda Realty Group, such an incredible human being, and just so glad. Ryan, thank you again for your time and just taking time to just share your wisdom, your advice, and folks with everything with the things you shared on this call. So hope you guys enjoyed it and that was a huge value to you. And love to be in touch. Ryan, I appreciate you. And thank you again.
All right, bye.
Hi guys, bye.
We're saying, David, that people